I'm grounded in compassion, centered in compassion, 'cause the most important person is me.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. I don't know about you, but lately it just feels like there's a lot happening in the world. Sometimes I find myself pausing and wondering what's next. And I've been noticing that a lot of people are carrying the same quiet question right now. In fact, as I'm recording this, there's reports of missile strikes in the Middle East near a U.S. military command center in Qatar. And for me, that hits a little closer to home because I have family serving in the military, actually on that base. So for moments like this, they aren't just headlines for me, they're personal. And when something like this happens, it's completely natural for the mind and body to shift into alert, to check the news, to reach out to loved ones, to wonder what might happen next. Moments like this remind me just how quickly the weight of the world can become very personal. And sometimes it can begin to feel like the world itself feels heavy. And many of us are already carrying a lot before that weight even showed up. So, in my work teaching compassion practices and working with people in high stake, stress environments, I've seen how deeply the emotional climate around us can affect the nervous system. And I've also discovered something important about what actually helps us move through moments like these. So today, in real life, real compassion, I want to explore what it means to live with compassion when the world feels heavy and you already carrying too much. This real life, real compassion is where we talk about real stuff, real emotions, real stress, real healing. Because life is complicated and being human is not always easy. And here we'll explore how to meet life with compassion for ourselves and for others in ways that are real, practical, and sustainable. I'm Belinda Douglas, the founder of Compassion Center of Georgia. I'm a certified senior CBCT instructor and a compassion-centered spiritual health clinician. My work is grounded in cognitively based compassion training. That's an evidence-based program developed at Emory University. And these conversations here on real life, real compassion are informed by research, training, my lived experience, books, all kinds of things. They're not prescriptions for you, they're just reflections. So take what resonates and perhaps reflect on the rest. One of the things we don't always realize is how much our nervous system absorbs the emotional climate around us. We're relational beings. We respond not only to what's happening in our own lives, but also to what we see, hear, and feel happening around us. The news we watch, the conversations we have, the concerns people carry in their homes and community. All of this can quietly register in the body and the mind. And over time, it can create a sense that the world feels just heavy. And if you felt that lately, there's nothing unusual about that response. In many ways, it reflects something deeply human. It reflects that we care. And when we feel that weight, many of us respond in the only way we've been taught, by trying to be strong enough to just carry it. But here's the thing. The weight of the world doesn't arrive in an empty space. It actually lands on top of everything we were already carrying. There's an insight from the book Too Heavy a Yoke by Chanequa Walker-Barnes. In that work, she reflects on the burden that can arise when people feel expected to always just be strong, to keep going, to carry everything, to hold it all together without showing the strain. And sometimes those types of expectations come from the world around us, and then sometimes they come from the messages we've learned to carry inside ourselves. Messages like, we say other people are dependent on me. I need to hold it together for my kids, or I should be able to handle this. And before we realize it, we're trying to be strong for everyone. Almost like we're expected to be superheroes in the moment when we're simply human. Ms. Barnes' work focuses on really primarily on the experiences of Black women in clergy and the unique pressures we carry. But when we step back, we can also recognize how many people in different ways feel the same type of expectation. This expectation to be strong, to keep pushing forward, to be numb, really, to carry what life brings. And in the uncertain times like we're dealing with, that expectation can become a very heavy yoke. Because sometimes the world already feels heavy enough. And interestingly, the weight we feel in moments like this is not only emotional, it also reflects something happening inside the brain. Neuroscientists such as Joseph Ledoux have helped us understand how the brain detects potential threats. He explains that deep in the brain, there's a small structure called the amygdala, which helps the brain scan the environment for danger. You can think of the amygdala as the brain's alarm system, so to speak. It's constantly scanning the environment, always asking a very simple question. Am I safe right now? But if it doesn't, it don't always respond to immediate physical danger. It can also respond to uncertainty, distressing information, and the emotional climate around us. So the challenge is that the amygdala doesn't only respond to immediate physical danger. When we are constantly exposed to distressing news or instability, the brain can begin to register those signals as ongoing threats. Researchers like Daniel Spiegel have helped explain that when the nervous system stays in that kind of threat response for too long, it becomes harder to access the part of the brain that helps us to reflect, to regulate emotions, and respond wisely. And that's where another remarkable part of the brain becomes important. That's the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex helps us with perspective, with empathy, with compassion. And even with thoughtful decision making. But for this area, the prefrontal cortex, to function well, the nervous system needs moments of calm. So this is the reason practices like compassion pause, breathing, and grounding the body are so powerful. It's why it's so important, because when we slow down and bring attention to the breath or the body, we signal the nervous system that we're safe in this moment. And see, that kind of pause can quiet the threat response and allow the prefrontal cortex to come back online. And when that happens, we regain access to compassion, clarity, and steadiness. Which brings me back to something I've been reflecting on. Maybe the invitation in uncertain times is not to become stronger, but to become steadier. Strength often sounds like pushing through, carrying more, holding everything together. But compassion invites something different. Let me say it this way. Compassion allows us to pause, to breathe, to recognize our shared humanity. And from that place, we can begin to respond to life with steadiness. Maybe that invitation, I'm going to say that again, in uncertain times is not to become stronger, but to become steadier. When we calm the nervous system, we create space for this compassion. And that compassion allows us to become a steady presence in the world. A calm word, a listening heart, a moment of patience. Things like we did in the compassion pauses this week. That small act of kindness. These may seem like, just little bitty things. But in a world that often feels overwhelmed, a steady presence can actually be a powerful gift. When the world feels heavy, compassion reminds us of something important. We don't have to carry the whole world on our shoulders. Instead, we can bring compassion into the small spaces we inhabit each day, into our homes, our conversations, our communities. And sometimes the most meaningful thing we can offer the world is simply a steady presence. So before we close today, I'd like to take just a moment to hold a compassionate wish for the many men and women serving our military and for their families. Many of them stand in places of uncertainty so that others can live in safety. And as someone with family serving in the military right now, I'm especially aware of how deeply these moments can touch the people who love them. So for just a moment, let's hold them in compassion. May they be safe. May they be protected. May they be supported by those around them. And may their families feel steadiness and care during these uncertain times. From all of us at Compassion Center, may your heart stay open. May your spirit stay at peace. And may you live each day as a vessel of love, fully alive, fully free. If this reflection resonates with you, please consider subscribing so we can continue exploring compassion together. And I'd love to hear from you. What helps you stay steady when the world feels heavy? Share a thought in the comments, and we'll see you next week on Real Life, Real Compassion.
I'm grounded in compassion, centered in compassion, 'cause the most important person is me.